Let's take a deep breath together. I think I was transported during the music, and I haven't quite landed yet. But let's take another breath together. Happy Easter, everybody. Yes, this is Resurrection Day, the day of resurrection, the day that we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, the Christ. And I'd just like to remind everyone that his last name was not Christ. He was Jesus the Christ. He was known as Jesus of Nazareth and also later Jesus of Galilee. But over the years, he has been known as Jesus Christ because that's how people know him. And that's not his name. His name was Jesus. He became the Christ because he was crucified. And in the crucifixion, he was able to allow the humanness to become merged into the divine. And the man became into the man. Let me just get that clear. The human gave way to the divine. The man gave way to God. The flesh gave way to spirit. And divisiveness gave way to unity. As a result, Jesus became the Christ because he gave away all those things that were not like God, the all that is. And Ernest Holmes tells us if we look at Jesus as an object lesson for the way that we live our lives, then we get to learn to allow our humanness to give way to the divine, which is what we're always doing in our spiritual practice and what we do, allowing our humanness to give way to the divine, allowing the flesh to give way to spirit, allowing ourselves to recognize our oneness with God and to live in oneness with God, which is what Jesus did because he knew who he was. He always knew who he was. Even though he came into this plane as a human being, and he lived as a human. He loved as a human. He laughed as a human. He ate as a human. He lived a human life. And he still knew who he was. He was so connected to spirit, so connected to God that he didn't really have to be crucified. He was powerful enough in his own right that he could have transcended this plane without the crucifixion. But if he hadn't gone through the crucifixion, then there wouldn't be any reason for us to be here today because there would be no resurrection. And so he was showing us all how to go through this life and how to allow our humanness to give way to the divine, how to allow our smallness to give way to the greater. And this is why we get into the joy of Easter Sunday, the joy of this time of year because of the resurrection when the stone has been rolled away from the tomb and Jesus stepped out into the resurrection. He stepped out into rising up from the dead. And so that's what we have to do in our own lives because do you know that every day is a resurrection day? Every day is a resurrection day. We have an opportunity to rise up every day. But every day is also a crucifixion day. It's also a crucifixion day. So we have the crucifixion and the resurrection, and the crucifixion and the resurrection in our own lives. And so we can look at those things that are crucifixions in our own lives. And we get rid of those things by rolling away the stone of the tomb that imprisons us. Jesus was, after he was taken down from the cross, and let me just mention cross. The cross represents a crystallization of different forms of thought. The perpendicular bar of the cross represents divine thought, the divinity. The cross, the horizontal bar of the cross represents human limitations, the cross current of human with So you have the divine, and then you have human. And our human limitations, the cross current, always sort of interferes with our oneness with the divine. And so the cross represents that. And what we have to learn to do is how we continue to move away from human limitations and move into that place of divinity, move into our own divinity by continuing to do the practice, continuing to do the work, continuing to recognize and know our oneness with the all that is. And this is what Jesus always knew, his oneness with the all that is. Let's take a breath together. One of the things to think about during the crucifixion, once he was crucified and put into the tomb, there was a stone that covered the entrance to the tomb. And so there was no way. The tomb represents darkness, a place of darkness where there is no light. And when the stone was rolled away, that was the only way that Jesus could come out of the tomb. So that's what I'd like us to think about in our own lives today. How do we come out of our own darkness? How do we come out of our own tombs? What stones need to be rolled away in our own lives? What stones are blocking us and keeping us in that place of darkness? And so that's what I'd like you to just consider on this day of resurrection, this day of rising. What is keeping us from rising? Because we can rise every day, as I said before. Every day is a day of rising for each one of us, every moment. Every moment, because there can be a resurrection and a crucifixion every moment. It depends on how we're living and depends on what experiences we're having. So that when we are in that place of the darkness and we roll away the stone, then we're able to step out into the light and experience the resurrection, experience the rising higher, experience the going deeper. That's what rising higher really is going deeper into our oneness, deeper into our expression of oneness with the all that is. And so I think that what is the stone that's keeping you in the tomb today? What is the stone that's keeping you from rising up today? What is the stone that kept you from rising up yesterday? What is the stone that keeps you from rising up in this moment? And these are stones that can be things that block us, things that hold us back, stones of fear, the stone of doubt, the stone of anxiety, of blame, of shame, of all those things that we get hung up with. But do you know that one thing that Jesus did on the cross, there were 7 last words of Jesus. The first, and they call them 7 last words, but they were really phrases. The first one was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Here's a man who was being crucified, who's been nailed to a cross. He's got nails in his hands and feet. He's been beaten and is in anguish and pain, and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is a big stone. That is a big stone that will keep us from the resurrection. And I mentioned that one for us because that's usually the biggest stone that we have. It's unforgiveness. It's unforgiveness. It's not being willing to forgive, not being able to forgive, not being forgiving, not being open to forgiveness, just not wanting to do it. Just not wanting to do it. But that unforgiveness is that stone that will keep us in the tomb. That unforgiveness is that stone that will keep us blocked, that will keep us in darkness, that will keep us small, that will keep us from being the all that we were created to be, that keeps us from being at one with the all that is. Unforgiveness does that. When we are holding something against someone, when we are blaming someone, judging, criticizing, and unwilling to let it go, unwilling to just take a deep breath and say, I forgive them. I forgive them. And do you know we hold those same kinds of things against ourselves? We hold those same kinds of things against ourselves. And sometimes self-forgiveness, I hear people say a lot when I'm working with people in forgiveness, they said that self-forgiveness is the hardest thing. Forgiving themselves for things they did not do or things they did do. Forgiveness is forgiveness. Forgiveness is for each one of us. It isn't for the other person. Forgiveness is for the forgiver. Forgiveness is that which sets us free. And so once Jesus on the cross is saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, he was freeing himself up also. He was freeing himself up from those soldiers who had beaten him, who had really harmed him, who had nailed him to that cross. He was forgiving them. He was freeing himself up, so he's not holding anything against them. He's not holding anything against them. Because after he had forgiven them and his heart was free, he said, one of the words on the cross he said is, I thirst. I thirst. I thirst. That was his humanness. He was recognizing, I'm still human. I'm a man. I'm up here in this hot sun, on this cross, with my feet and my hands nailed here. I thirst. And the soldiers dipped rags in vinegar and patted his mouth with that. And he still forgave them. He still forgave them. Because by now he's on this cross and the humanness is giving way to the divine. And he's moved on to a different plane altogether. And that's what we can do when we move on to a different plane, when we move on to the plane of forgiveness. When we go deep into forgiveness, we can just let all that stuff go and just allow ourselves to be free. Allow ourselves to be free. Allow ourselves to be freed up so that we can love and we can live and we can be all that we were created to be. And this is what Jesus taught us, was how to live, how to be all that we were created to be, how to love each other, how to live in this world with others, how to love God, how to live in this world. And he taught about the next world. He taught about so many things. And this all came from the crucifixion and the resurrection. And so today I'm asking you to look at where you are in your own life so that you can experience the joy of the resurrection. And that joy can come each and every moment of each and every day. You know, when I hear the word joy, I use the word joy, I think of Ernest Holmes' definition of joy. Joy, he says, is the emotion excited by the expectancy of good. Joy is the emotion excited by the expectancy of good. I love that definition. Joy is the emotion excited by the expectancy of good. And expectancy, not expectation of good. Expectation is about something specific. Expectancy is openness. Expectancy is, wow. I always refer to expectancy as next and. Next and. Expectancy means behind every leaf, behind every door. Expectancy, expecting good. Everywhere we go, everything we do, we're expecting good. But the goodness of God is always around us. The goodness of God is always, I want to say, following us. The goodness of God always surrounds us. And so we have to learn to really be in that place of expectancy, because expectancy, Ernest Holmes says, speeds up the good. When we are expecting good, when we're expecting good, it speeds it up because we have that air, that sense of expectation. And this is one of the things I love about Easter, because expectancy, and when we're looking for good everywhere, it always reminds me of an Easter egg hunt. Does anybody know anything about Easter egg hunt? I remember as a kid in the South, we had a big yard, and my father on Easter Sunday would hide Easter eggs in the yard. And the fun was coming home from church and doing our Easter egg hunt in our yard. And it was so exciting because you never knew where they were. You ran around. There was maybe one under this bush. There may be one under that tree. There may be one in the grass or wherever. But the excitement, the expectancy that we had of finding that egg, that's looking for good everywhere. Feel the joy of that. If you're a kid, if you're an adult, if we had an Easter egg hunt right now, I bet most of us would be going around trying to find them, looking for those eggs. Just think about that, the joy. That's what expectancy is all about. Just knowing that there's good coming, and you're not defining what it is. You're just open to whatever it is. But expectancy keeps our hearts open. Expectancy keeps our minds open. Expectancy keeps us aware of the presence of God, and we don't have to try to figure out how we're going to get it, where it's going to come from, or any of that. We just be open to it. We're just open to it. We're just open to it. Ernest Holmes says that a bucket turned over cannot, even in a cloudburst, be filled if it's turned upside down. Expectancy is that bucket turned right side up, so that that it can be filled with cloudbursts, drops of rain, whatever it may be, that bucket can be filled. And that's what expectancy does for us. It keeps us in that place of knowing, that place of excitement, that place of, yes, thank you, God. That place of, yes, thank you, God, of knowing that there's good everywhere, good all around us. And this is what rises when we are in that place of the resurrection and we're rising up, then the thing that we do is we expect good everywhere. We expect good everywhere. I have to tell you one of my favorite things about expectancy. I used to have two little granddogs, Yogi and Sweet Pea. And Sweet Pea was very, very attached to Reverend Cheryl. And when she would leave the room or she would go out and she'd come back, he would tear through the house. They were little 8-pound Maltese. So that's the size of them. But he would tear through the house looking for her. And if he didn't see her, he'd run over to the kitchen and look, and he'd run in the other room and look, and then he'd run to the chair where she would sit, and he would take the throw pillow and look under that pillow. And that always amazed me because it's like he thinks she could be under that pillow. But he expected to find her somewhere. He'd look in every room, and then he'd come back to the pillow again to see was she there. And it always reminds me of him when I think about expectancy. That's kind of like the Easter egg hunt. You expect something good. You expect good to be there all the time. And so that's how I'm asking us this Easter Sunday, to live in a place of expectancy. Live in a place of expectancy. And that's after you have looked at the stones that need to be rolled away. What stones do you need to roll away in your life? Who are you angry with? Who are you withholding from? What stones need to be rolled away that's keeping you blocked, keeping you in the tomb of darkness? What is it that can lead you to that place of resurrection, that place of rising up, so that when we're rising up, we are open and available to the all that is and all the good that is. We're open and available to that. Open and available to that. So think about it. Think about it. What is it that you need to die to? What is it that you need to let go of? 3 things that I think that need to happen when we are moving through this time of rising up. One is being willing to change. Being willing to change. I'll say it again, being willing to change. Do I need to say it again? Being willing to change. We got to be willing to change. We want things to change, but we don't want to change. We want something new. We want something different, but we don't want to change to get it. We got to be willing to change. We've got to be willing to change. Ernest Holmes says, don't let your current circumstances keep you away from the resurrection, from your resurrection. And current circumstances can keep us away because we're okay with things the way they are. We like them just like they are. Even though we complain about them, they become comfort zones. And so we don't want to move away from them. The second thing is learn to hang out in the let go. Hang out in the let go. Hang out in the let go. Letting go of those things that don't serve. If that's what Jesus was doing, he was hanging out in the let go, the things that were not serving him. He let all that go. If he had not let go, there would be no resurrection. And so that's what we're asked to do. Hang out in the let go. What do you need to let go of? Hang out in that place of the let go. And then the third thing is to be willing to live in the not know. Be willing to live in the not know. Yes, that's what expectancy is about. When we don't know what it is, but we're expecting good. And in the not know, we have to really be in that place of trusting God. Really being in that place of trusting the all that is. Really be in that place of knowing that power and that presence is always with us, always guiding us, always directing us, always lifting us up, always loving us, always comforting us, always being us in each and every moment of each and every day. And this is what keeps us rising. This is what keeps us rising over and over again. And what Jesus taught us is that life is not finished with us. Life is never finished. Life is eternal. It is ever going on. And so I'm inviting you today to really be willing to let go of those things that don't serve. Roll away that stone of judgment. Roll away that stone of shame. Roll away that stone of guilt. Roll away that stone of blame. Roll away that stone of whatever you call it. And free yourself up so that you can walk forward into the day of renewal, into a time of renewal, knowing that there's good all around, and open your heart to and be open to and available to the good that is all around us. And so your invitation today is to really, not only today, but each and every day, look at what is it that's blocking me today? What is it that I need to let go of today? What is it that is blocking my resurrection today? What is it that's keeping me from rising and being all that I was created to be? What is it that keeps me from being that place and space for God? Because our purpose for being here is to be those vehicles for God's love. And so what is it that's keeping me from doing that today? It's what I'm doing in this moment. It's what I'm saying in this moment. It's what I'm thinking in this moment. It's what I'm feeling in this moment blocking me. Is it keeping me in this tomb of darkness? Do I need to roll away this stone right here and right now? And so I'm inviting you today to really take a look at that. Be willing to rise up each and every moment of each and every day. Be willing to be resurrected every day. Resurrected every day. Imagine that. Being resurrected, a new life every day. We get a chance to live a new life every day. We get a chance to do something different every day. And so that's what I'm asking you to do today. Live in the resurrection. Live in that place of openness and availability. Live in oneness with God. Let's turn within in this moment.